The dance between light and space hints at what lies ahead. The presence of Hema and Himal Dama is announced by this architectural masterpiece. Settling into this estate provided them with an opportunity to showcase their unmistakable talent for architecture and design.
How's it going?
Good, thanks, and you?
I'm well, thank you. Your home looks beautiful. But first of all, what was the key theme that you wanted for this home, and how did you communicate that with the designer?
Okay, basically we just wanted a home that was modern, open space was most important, and natural light and ventilation, basically, and that's exactly what we got.
You think he achieved that?
Definitely.
I know so as well. Whenever you come into the space, what emotion does it evoke in you?
Oh, my kitchen is my most safe place, my most happy place to be, because I spend most of my time in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I had conveyed to them, that I wanted a nice big kitchen, and that's exactly what I got.
Yeah, the space is open, just like you said, and it's properly ventilated with big windows and all of that. Whenever you're inside here, do you feel like someone's watching you from outside?
No, not at all. I feel absolutely safe because I've got my blinds blocking the windows, although I have that natural light still coming through, and the ventilation.
Yeah, that's good. Are there personal touches in this home that you really hold dear to yourself and, of course, your family?
That we've brought furniture from the old home that was very dear to us. Lots of frames and photos which have hold good memories for the kids, because that's where they grew up. And just to keep that memories alive, we brought that across to this home.
Yeah. It's memorable. What if I join as a family?
Oh,
Adopt
definitely,
me
no problem.
As the bigger child.
Yeah, no problem. As long as you do stuff for yourself.
I will. The only thing is that you need to drop a couple of this, because I'm now your child.
We'll have to think about that then.
Were there design choices that the architect or the designer actually chose that you were like, I don't think that's not gonna work, but afterwards you see that it actually came out very beautiful?
Yes, first thing would be the door, which is absolutely huge. I'm sure you noticed that.
Yeah.
Everyone that comes through is that always, how do you open this door? And it's exactly my sentiments initially, like, how am I going to be able to pull this door open every time someone comes? But it's so easy because it's on a pivot. Although it's huge, it doesn't feel huge when you're opening it. And another thing was the staircase. They explained to us it's going to look floating, and I couldn't imagine that at all. Although we had the 3D virtual walkthrough with the architects, it was only once I saw it for myself that actually looks floating, and I understood the concept.
The home's most remarkable aspect is its expansive 6.8-meter door, ensuring you feel at home whilst in a castle.
Heartfelt thank you to the Dama family for sharing those insights with us. Now we take a walk into the home's world of entertainment, where class has given the owners a brilliant audiovisual experience. Class, well, thank you so much for inviting me over. Don't make me laugh too much, because we need to keep our audience entertained. Well, class, you've done an incredible job with this home cinema. But the most important thing I wanted to find out were the key considerations to creating an immersive audiovisual experience.
Sure. You just touched on a very important and a buzzword that gets used in our industry at the moment is immersive. Right, so what is in an immersive audio-video experience? Well, certainly it's one where you get immersed in the experience. So to be watching a movie, enjoying a concert, watching your favorite team play, the external world disappears and you get immersed in that experience. So that's certainly true of this environment, is that in this room, you're not aware of anything but what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, were there any key considerations or very important preferences that the client wanted that has shaped the final design of this home theatre?
Well, certainly. I mean, every cinema will have certain basic concepts which are true throughout with every cinema. But two very key considerations, which is ultimately the same point, is that the client enjoys playing movies at a realistic volume, right? So he's quite heavy-handed with the volume. And it's also a family, so that sound had to be contained within the cinema room. It does that. And then also speaker considerations that are capable of delivering that level of performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can you walk me through the technical specs, in delivering a home cinema like this?
Yeah, well, ultimately all of that has to start with the room, right? Especially if it's a dedicated room as opposed to a cinema in someone's lounge. And that first requirement is a room that's rectangular in shape, right? That's the first important requirement. The other requirements from a technical aspect are, secondly, how many people does the cinema need to seat on a day-to-day basis? Often people, they've watched far too much Instagram and go, we want this 3 or 4 rows of seating, when reality is it's typically a family of 4. Right? So that is a very important consideration, is how many people are going to be in the room. Some cinemas, as it was the case in this, are also now dual function. So this cinema has the movie aspect of it, the concert aspect, and the second portion of the room, which is a bit of a games fun room. There's a pool table, there's a foosball table, there's some very cool Lego models. Yeah, it's a fun space.
Yeah. So walk me through the elements in the cinema.
Sure. So here we'll start right at the beginning, which is the door. And this is a very often overlooked aspect of a theatre. Here the door is made of 3 or 4 different layers of materials, including metal, acoustic, absorption material, and a sealant. So when that door closes, no sound leaks into the rest of the home. Walking through the rest of the theatre, the first thing we notice are the side panellings. Now, initially this looks like that it's purely decorative, but these serve one of the most important technical aspects of a theatre, which is controlling reflections off the wall. Because we want to hear what the speakers are doing, not the sound reflecting off the wall. In terms of the speaker configuration, speakers get configured to the seating to put you in this immersive experience. And that's created here by 4 speakers above, 2 speakers at the side, the 3 speakers in the front, and a bass speaker for your very, very low effects. So what that achieves is it can position a sound anywhere within that sphere in relation to the screen and the seating. Which brings us to the screen. The fun thing with projectors and screens, the only limitation to the size of your image is ultimately the size of the room and how far you're sitting from that. Technically, projectors have become extraordinary, to a point where, for the most part, they rival most commercial cinemas. The only thing that can compete with this is possibly an IMAX theatre. But from that aspect, projectors give us a proper home cinema experience because the image is in proportion also to the audience. Another very important technical aspect is how the system can be controlled and used. People will walk into the theatre, switch the system on, and then they realize they need to switch the lights off. So what typically happens, they get one of the kids to switch the light off. Well, here what happens is it's a completely automated system. You push one button, the lights can go to a pre-programmed scene, or one button which initiates the sequence of switching on the projector, putting on the amplifier. So an important technical aspect is it's no good if the cinema sounds good and looks good, it also has to be simple to use. Right, so that's very important. There are lots of technical aspects, and these all need to be brought together by a specialist company like ourselves.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thanks.
With a floating, rubber-sized black ceiling that creates a night sky when the fiber optic pin drop lights set in the ceiling are switched on. It is where the Damas love to entertain, catch up, and be one happy family. Arranged around a central cylinder, these cubes form a design that narrates the homeowner's professional journey, skillfully interpreted by their architect, Peter Orovitz from Kevin Lloyd Architects.
I just want to find out, what was the design concept?
Okay, so considering it's quite a young family, they're quite techy and involved. They like the modern stuff, they like little gadgets. They did give me a little insight to what they prefer in their architectural styles. So this is not quite that, but it's an interpretation of what they wanted. The main concept behind this house was really to let the structure and intricacies of the structure do the talking, rather than trying to dress the house up and put all the little clip-on things. So it was quite a challenging process, working very hands-on with the contractor to achieve it, but it's the continuity of a somewhat exposed structure while integrating all the other elements such as your natural light, taking into account your winter, summer seasons and cycles.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And in what areas of the home have you infused the client's preferences and personalities?
Literally everywhere, starting with the heart of the home being the kitchen, and then the technical heart of the home, which is the automation system. Pretty much everything in this home is automated. The colors, the finishes were somewhat subtle, which gives the client an opportunity to go with the trends as such. They could very easily change their decor in a slightly more muted palette. However, the client's personal preferences, as well as furniture and decor that they've collected over the years, they brought it along into their house. So it was a little bit of a balancing act, but I think very successful.
Well, I must say it's very eclectic, but the most important thing I saw was the stone, the steep stone clad at the entrance. How did you achieve, accessibility and inclusivity of that design germ?
Accessibility was quite a challenge on this site. So it's not the biggest site. However, the client did want as much out of his home as possible. So we tried access from all different sides and found that the most practical access would actually be from the front. We decided to combine stairs and a ramp together and made a ramp stair with very comfortable large treads for people with limited accessibility could pretty easily traverse it.
It did come out quite well, but I see
did
that
what we wanted. Yeah.
I mean, so far the client is happy, right?
Yeah, no, the client's.
I'll say that something that also makes me very happy to be in this home is the active use of light. And how did you optimize, natural light and ventilation in the space?
Natural light is so important for just our general well-being, but also considering where we live, we get really hot summers. No, I guess our winters can be mild, but for us Durbanites, you can feel the winters. So it was a case of orientating the house in the correct position, including gigantic openings everywhere. So we've tried to let in as much natural light as possible while limiting it in the summer months and rather bringing more of it in the winter months.
This door is a piece of art. No one comes to this home without noticing this door. How were you able to achieve functionality and aestheticism? Because it has the both function, but it looks amazing, but it still serves a purpose. How were you able to achieve that?
Well, we have had experiences in doors in the past. They just seem to be getting bigger and bigger every time we do them. And we worked quite well with a specialist who builds these doors for us. So it's a matter of having a well-balanced door that isn't too difficult to open, that won't slam and kill you when it's windy. And sorry.
Exactly, that wouldn't slam and kill.
Yeah, it's just a balancing act, and getting it to work.
Well, I see that this is beautiful. In what areas can you say that you're most satisfied whenever you come into this home?
I guess a smile on the client's face, as it is very satisfying. One of the other things was the knowing that every single little detail in this house was addressed the way it should be. Working one-on-one with the contractor on site, very hands-on. There wasn't anything left unresolved, so that was satisfying. That is satisfying. So.
That's good. I'll say that there are different design elements in this home, in this house rather, this time around. But what are those design elements that actually make the house a home?
The intimacy and the relationship between the spaces is what makes the house a home. I mean, it is very open plan. It is very integrated with the outside, but there's a degree of intimacy that you find in the home as well. You go into a large, stark space, you don't feel at home, yet if you've got a close proximity to things, that would create that more homely feeling. So that would be it.
Yeah. Well, I understand that you told me you were very hands-on with this home. right onto painting the roof of the cinema. Or was it the wall? Yeah, you know, tell me how that design process was and how you were able to navigate those challenges.
Well, there was a lot of experimentation. You know, things that were questionable to the contractor or to anybody really, I would go home and actually build a little mock-up or experiment with the materials and bring a sample to site and be like, can you do this? In the case of the cinema, I ended up doing the entire thing. But, you know, things like the textures on the wall, you know, we chatted with the contractors, they did samples, they worked it. And then, you know, we came to, you know, final product, which has the very hand-molded look.
It does speak for itself. We love your innovation, we love your creativity, and we love how you've given birth to a home like this and handed it over to the client. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
No, absolute pleasure.
The seamless connection between the inside and outside enables the brilliance of the design to radiate, and the results make a true Invade living.